I reached out to Panya in March because I had been working through some pretty heavy emotional things and decisions, and I knew that I needed to get some of that out of my body. And so we started talking in early March, actually, right before lockdown happened. And it was because I had been trying to conceive for 3 years and wasn't successful, and had made the decision to move from trying to conceive and eventually being able to adopt. But I knew that I needed to do some reconciling with myself about what had happened, how my body was still not connected to where my mind was and where my heart was, and I needed to do that work. And energy work and somatic work is the way that I know how to do that. And so Panya was the first person I thought of to do that work with. It just so happened, in terms of timeliness, it was right as the COVID pandemic had really taken off, and then the whole country was being shut down. So beginning that work in that way, and then having this forced time indoors and a certain amount of pressure from outside and stress added to that, definitely made it clear that the course was going to be a way that I could continue doing this work in an in-depth manner as things were becoming more and more stressful outside. And so it was great. It was great to do the course, particularly at the height of COVID restrictions, at the height of us learning, about its impact, and amidst all of the death that was happening, as well as the beginnings of unfortunately the horrible murders that happened that instigated the uprisings for later in the summer. So to be able to have a space to work through my, trauma and still be able to manage what was happening outside was vitally important, I think, for my health, particularly at the beginning of the pandemic. The course was instrumental because, I had the incredible fortune to be working in an industry where we were, our work could continue, and to be responsive and to be of service in the moment, right? So that also meant, though, that the work was relentless and really being able to have space to think about how does my body work, how does my mind work, how am I uniquely mapped and ordered, really helped me figure out how to continue to be present in my work, be present with my family, and take the time to understand how to reset myself, considering all the things that are happening. It's interesting. One example, particularly that stood out for me, was the brain mapping work. Thinking about what does that mean in terms of certainly the ways I approach work and the ways that I process it, but also the ways in which I can restore myself when I need to be restored. I have to say that I am not somebody who is actively engaged in online courses. And so this was an incredible surprise to me at how seamless the experience was. And I think it's because there were so many points of contact. Certainly they originally, you receive emails that tell you and remind you about this week's study, and has embedded links in the email to take you to the portal, to the website. The portal was incredible because there you had meditations that you could download as well as just play. You also had worksheets and information that's there in the portal to work with, and then be able to present in classes once we actually have a gathering of the entire group. So what was excellent for me is that I typically am an independent learner. So I really thrived with the self-study work. But it was really incredible to know that there was a benchmark, that like once a week, as a group we would gather and we would be able to share information, be led into another aspect of the work that certainly reviewed what we did independently, but put it within a greater context. And that was really exciting. And it was interesting. I mean, I think when it might be counterintuitive to think about doing somatic work like this through technology, and not actually being in the room together to experience one another's energy, but that was not the case at all. I think probably the most important component was to really be able to hear one another and hear one another's voices. And yeah, it was quite moving and quite powerful. And you know, despite the fact that we were online and in different parts of the country and on different time zones, it was really an incredible experience. It exceeded my expectations. I recommend this highly. I recommend this in good times and in bad times, but I highly recommend this while we're in pandemic times. It's probably the best use of your online video Zoom capacity in the course of any given week. To actually kind of reclaim this technology for something that is personal, for personal use, especially if you're somebody for whom it's now become exclusively and only work related, but also it's a way to reintegrate yourself, right? And so a way to address what's happening emotionally, what's happening in your mind intellectually, and then also what's happening spiritually, right? And giving you, whether this information is new or if it's something that you have forgotten, right? That you have studied and you are a student of this work, it's still an incredible representation of it in a way that is helpful in this time, right? Because I don't know. I mean, for me, I definitely am compartmentalizing, and despite my best efforts, and there are moments where deep emotion comes through, whether it's fear for my own health, for that of my family, that of my friends, the economy, my neighbors, my country. There's a space that I have had in this course, but then also tools that I can take away, right? So I can download everything. I can go back to it, and I can review the worksheets, review my notes, and see how, and look at the date and see how I felt at that moment, at that time, and has there been any advancement? Has there been any improvement? And go back and reuse the tools that we've been given, and that's been instrumental in, I think, me being able to still be present in the lives of my family and my friends and my work, and to be able to know how to use all of this at home time in a way that's restorative, and that really does find some kind of silver lining to this very confusing time that we're in. So I'm deeply grateful, and I highly recommend this course for anybody and everybody.